Good evening, everybody, and a warm welcome to Talking Films Online. This is a special event. It's our first ever retrospective. We have had film festivals before, but this is the first time, thanks to Louis Mathew, we will be having a retrospective of the American independence. You mute yourself. Yeah. Of Kelly Reichardt. Thank you, Louis, for doing this for us, and we welcome you to Talking Films Online. Let me have the pleasure of introducing Louis Mathew to all of you. Louis was Program Manager of Kerala State Chalachitra Academy and International Film Festival of Kerala from 2001 to 2007. Since he left the academy, he worked as a freelance teacher of film appreciation in a number of colleges and schools throughout South India, till he joined as a permanent faculty for film aesthetics at L.V. Prasad Film and TV Academy, Trivandrum in 2014. He has worked in various capacities in direction, production, distribution, and acquisition departments of Malayalam cinema. He was also the chief coordinator of Vibgyor Film Festival, Thrissur, for 7 years. Welcome, Louis, and over to you.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, please go ahead.
I don't know how many of you are familiar with the filmmaker Kelly Reichardt. I hope very few. Generally, Kelly Reichardt is an American independent filmmaker. When we hear the name independent filmmaker, American independent filmmaker, many people may think of Tarantino, Quentin Tarantino. But Kelly Reichardt has nothing in common with Tarantino. We can say her films are something like the antithesis of Tarantino. Whatever we see is just the opposite of his style and content. Then when we see Kelly is a woman who made big name in America. Some people may think of Catherine Bigelow, who became the first woman to win the Best Oscar Award for the Oscar Award for the Best Direction for the movie The Hurt Locker. Again, Hurt Locker is completely opposite to Kelly Reichardt's films. Hurt Locker is actually a masculine story told by a woman. Reichardt's movies are basically feminine stories told by a woman. Then another parallel, people say Reichardt is very much like Tarkovsky.
Now, or you can come back in 2 weeks for a trial with a judge. Plus court fees.
Hello?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Many people compare Reichardt to Andrei Tarkovsky, the Russian master. Tarkovsky's films are usually, those films raise questions of metaphysical dimension. But in Reichardt's films, in addition to this metaphysical dimension, they have also socio-political dimension and environmental, ecological dimensions. So she's quite contemporary with the European aesthetics of cinema. What I found very interesting or unique about Reichardt is her use of landscape in cinema. Like the great landscape painters, Constable or Turner, she's a great landscape filmmaker. I don't know if any other filmmaker used landscapes so well in cinema, yeah, both thematically and visually, aesthetically. Though it's like she's so interested in nature. I mean, if you look at all those films, you can see she likes the frontier, the border between culture and nature, where nature ends and where culture begins, or where culture ends and where nature begins. So many of these films are set in sparsely populated area. Very few people are there. There are elements of human culture and civilization, but they are very close to nature. And she makes us question what the civilization has done to nature and how far we are from nature, how we spoil nature, and like that. She's openly political. She questions, or many of her films shows the failure of the American dream. What happened to the dream and what is happening to the ordinary human beings in America. Most of her characters are protagonists are working class white women or white people, white Americans. They are usually living in a hostile environment. That hostility of the environment happened due to the lifestyle, the American lifestyle, mostly due to the capitalist way of life. She is generally called as a realist filmmaker. Some critics even call her the neo-realist filmmaker because she's realist and so contemporary. By style, she's far from the neorealist tradition of the Italian era of the 40s and 50s. Also, she's quite minimalist. There is no big camera movements or editing props like that. She edits her films herself. Her films are generally called as or considered as in a genre called slow cinema. They're not that slow, but narratively they are slow. Like in a typical mainstream cinema, we see the essential drama, nothing beyond that. For example, if it's a classroom, if the filmmaker is showing us a classroom, something happens in the classroom, we see the end of the class, the drama alone. We don't see what is happening before the drama or after the drama. Only the essential elements of drama. Like Hitchcock said, how cinema is the life with the boring elements cut out. So there are no boring elements in a Hitchcock movie or a typical Hollywood or mainstream movie. We see only the part of dramatic moments. In this slow cinema or in Reichardt movies, we see first of all, there are no big drama. Her films are, it's like we can compare her films to a journey. Generally, in a journey, we have a destination. So we are looking forward to a destination, and we show only the dramatic part of the journey. The beginning of the journey. After sometimes the bus or the car breaks down. On the way, some robbers came in and attacks. There is a murder or an accident, like big dramatic moments until we reach the destination. But in Reichardt's movies, destination is not that important. It's like life. We go through the moments. There are only the moments of the journey. So she never rushes us through the journey. We see a waterfall, she stays there a little so that we can look at the waterfall. When the car moves, she will look around and look at the landscape. I mean, in each scene, the camera usually holds a little more so that we are made to contemplate what is happening in the character's mind, or what is happening in the situation, what has happened to the environment. Like that, we are made to reflect on what is happening, not intensely driven into the plot. There is a plot, always there is a plot there. Like, for example, her first movie, River of Grass, she called it a road movie without a road, a love story without love, and a crime story without a crime. So there is a crime, but which is not actually a crime. If you look at the whole works of Kelly Reichardt, we can see a big change from the second movie onwards. The first movie is rather an experimental kind of one, where she is trying to talk about so many things together. Then there was a long gap. She made the second movie only 12 years later. Usually, if a filmmaker makes a big break with her first movie, his or her first movie, the next movie follows in maximum in 2 years. She took some 12 years to make the second movie, which got her the Tiger Award at Rotterdam, which was the first Tiger Award for any American, for the movie All Joy. From All Joy onwards, we see a completely different style. And when we talk about, when we talk about Osu, the typical Osu starts in the mid-40s. Though he made some more than 50 movies, the Osu style is in the last 1/3 of his oeuvre. Like that, the typical Reichardt movie starts around after the second movie, or from the second movie onwards. We can see the collaborators like Michelle Williams is the heroine of Wendy and Lucy, and we can see her in a number of movies. Or frequent collaborators. Most of her films are set in one place, one province, Oregon. Like that, there are recurring characteristics in her movies. All this starts from the second movie onwards. The first movie is very different from the rest of them. She also, though she never called that herself, as she is a feminist filmmaker in the sense, usually the protagonist will be a woman. Women stories are, the conflicts are happening to women. They are not just props in the story of men. There are men. In Old Joy, there are only, the protagonists are men, but still we see the issues. And sometimes it's called as an LGBT movie or a gay film. Again, the feminine part of the relationship is narrated in that movie. In a typical, the major genres of American cinema are road movies, westerns, crime movies. She has attempted all these big genres. In each genre, she is telling it in a completely different way from the mainstream movies. For example, in Mix Cutoff, which is a western, we see generally westerns are made in cinemascope or broad aspect ratios, because the landscape is very important, and the human beings are shown as small, in the lap of the nature, huge landscape and small human beings. Only when we go closer to characters, we see the human story. The landscape landscape is always impending in the background. There is in Mix Cutoff. It's a Western movie. The story of a journey into the frontier, but it's told through the women's. The protagonists are women, and from their point of view. Those women of the 19th century, European women who were coming for settling in US, they had a particular kind of cap, bonnet. So their view is limited by the shape of the cap. They cannot have those women. Men have the flat cap, cowboy hat, but women have this covering bonnet. So they cannot have this panoramic view, 2:35 ratio. So what we see in Reichardt's movies, the classic ratio, 4:3, somewhat 4:3 ratio, like the old TV ratio, because that is how women can see the landscape from their due to their costumes. Also, we can see camera is used not like the mainstream movies where women are objectified through camera angles or their positions. If we take this movie, the film we are going to watch today, Wendy and Lucy, this is a typical Reichardt movie. The heroine is a woman, a working class woman, Michelle Williams, acted by Michelle Williams. Like most of her movies, this Wendy and Lucy is also a deceptively simple story. We can say it's a story of searching for a lost dog, but it is not that simple. Yes, there is a story of a lost dog and searching for it. If you look at the movie, you can see basically this film is about loneliness and social isolation. This girl has very few relatives, friends. She's absolutely lonely. This loneliness is not conveyed by dialogue. We can see how she's framed in bare. Most of the time she's alone in the frame, small in size to the frame. There are few dialogues. Comparatively fewer dialogues. Always this contemplative style. The camera never rushes, or the edit never cuts too quickly. We are given time to think of her, what is happening to her, what is happening in her mind. Also, many of her films are not they're not closed at the end. Generally, we expect the destination having a happy ending, or even if it is an unhappy ending, tragic ending, also a closure. In many films, there are no closure. Like she once said, I don't like using the title "The End" to the cinema, to my cinema, my movies, because my movies or her movies are stories taken from people's lives. They are part of their life, not the beginning to the end. We enter at some point in the life of a character, we go through part of it, like we are joining in that character's journey. Like we are also in a journey, in our own journey of life, and we meet these characters at some point, and we travel with them for 2 hours in the story time, maybe for a couple of years. Then we leave. We take a different route. The protagonists go in a different route. There is no closure. Her journey or the protagonist's journey is not getting to an end. It is just we see a part of her life, and we just imagine what could have happened to the journey. Could she reach the destination? I mean, what is important is how we spend our time with this protagonist, these characters, and how we made think of their life and their situations, and how this so-called modern life has made them unprivileged, helpless people. So, what else? I, I, I could. First of all, I'm not that comfortable with this online thing. I usually avoid. I, I mean, I want to see people to talk. So generally, I avoid this online thing. Second thing is, if you have watched these movies, it would have been easy to connect what is happening here and what is remarkable about her films. I think I've given you some areas to look into when you watch Kelly Reichardt's movies. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Louis. Thank you. I think you have laid the ground for a discussion. Yeah, we have all watched the film, Wendy and Lucy, all of us who are here for the discussion. So anyone would like to say something about the film, or if you have a question to Louis, you may please ask. Yes. It is definitely a film, I think, that, will, if people have not watched independent cinema coming from America, it will come across as something very, very different from the staple Hollywood fare that most of us are more accustomed to watching. So that is something that will strike you while first watching Kelly Reichardt. At least I was not familiar with this filmmaker, and I thank you for introducing her to us. And I like the way she manages to, evoke so much sympathy and emotion for Wendy, in spite of not, giving a context or a backstory to her. Because generally, for filmmakers or even for, writers, novelists, there is this compulsion to provide, a justification for the protagonist's actions, a motivation, what is the motive. And, that, except for the fact that she's going to, work in a cannery, we don't know anything else. And of course, I think we know brief. I mean, she has a conversation on the phone with her sister back in Indiana. So that's all, that's about that much we know about her family. The rest of it is exclusively what's happening to her along her way. So that I thought was something very interesting about the film. Would you like to say something, Louis, or would anyone else like to comment?
This is basically because she's not much concerned about creating drama. She's actually someone who opposes the idea of the American dream. She would say American dream was a failure. Look at this woman, young woman.
Yeah.
She's going to the extreme of civilized world of America, to Alaska, to find a job, because the system, the political system, creates that kind of a situation. She's so helpless. She's so lonely. And even the social system, she has nobody. She has a single one relative to make contact. She has no friends. It is not her fault that she is in such a situation. So we are made to think of her situation. There are people like that. How people ended up like that, what they are feeling about their situation. So all these, the filmmaker is not trying to make us go through an intense drama. Instead, she's inviting us to look at a less privileged person and reflect on how they live. And by structure, it's like we can see anywhere. When we meet a person, we are not meeting the person the beginning of his story. We meet a person in a train, and we started traveling with them, and we get to know about that person, not from the beginning, part of their life. And if we are empathetic enough, we will get interested in them, and we'll understand them better. This is what she is trying to do, I think.
I think Jayanto yeah, Nikhila, please go ahead.
No, Jayanto can go ahead. I can come in after him. No problem.
Okay. I think Jayanto wanted to say something.
Nikhila, it's perfectly all right. I'll come after you. You go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so thanks very much. I know you had earlier suggested Hitchcock, but at least I am ever so glad that you have introduced a filmmaker I mean, who seems so interesting, and I'm really looking forward to watching the rest of her films. I've just watched Wendy and Lucy now, and have really found the film very, very interesting for all the reasons that you suggested. And also, as Gita was saying, I mean, it's so un-Hollywood-like, and it reminded me of this Deborah Granick's film called Leave No Trace. I don't know if Gita remembers this film, you know, on Netflix. This is about a father and daughter who kind of who don't want to be part of a settled home, you know, so they live in a park and live a kind of itinerant life. And what happens within a settled capitalist system where everyone is supposed to have an address. So this whole idea about not having an address becomes, I mean, again, comes up in this film when she has to give an address. If she's living off her car, and then finally not even that. So these marginal people who don't have neat, settled homes, which we usually see in a Hollywood film, I think, you know, that was one of the most interesting aspects of the film. The second aspect that I thought, again, was kind of unnerving, but also interesting in the way she presented it. The very first scene where there is this group of youngsters, and she kind of goes to them at night looking for Lucy. So we don't know what to make of it, and there's nothing else that kind of follows after. Similarly, another night scene, you know, where she's sleeping out of her car after she almost, I mean, after the car has gone for repair, where she's sleeping out. Something happens. We're not sure what really has happened. We just know that it has terrified her, and we only see the reaction, her reaction in light. Otherwise, so much of it unfolds in that darkness. So I thought these two scenes and the way she has handled it is very, very intriguing. Overall, I found the film very interesting, and Really glad to be introduced to a wonderful woman filmmaker. Thank you very much.
Generally, if I wanted to introduce Kelly Reichardt to a new person, I will ask that person to watch Certain Women. That is the best movie to start with, Kelly Reichardt. You will really, anybody will love that movie. For many other films, you need more patience to watch her movies. But to watch Certain Women, anybody can. Anybody would love. It's a great movie. But since this is a retro, I wanted you to see how Kelly Reichardt is changing, transforming through her movies, and how much things are staying with her style and how much is changing. It's always nice to see films of a particular filmmaker in the chronological order. Another thing is, you talked about this Leave No Trace. I was also thinking of a thematic retro when we talk about Wendy and Lucy. For example, the film which got the Oscar last year, Nomadland, is thematically connected to Wendy and Lucy. Its protagonist is a woman. She has no place to stay. She's just hanging around at the border of the civilization, like that, which is actually a shadow of a great movie called Vagabond by Agnes Varda. Nomadland is actually a shadow of Vagabond. Is a really great movie, and there are many films like that. Then what you said is true. This, in certain scenes, we don't know what exactly happened there. I mean, we expect some big drama, but we don't find the big thing there. There is a movie called Night Moves. There, the protagonists are going to blow a dam, the big reservoir. We don't see the blow, the explosion. We don't even hear. The film deals with their tension toward when they plan this conspiracy, or what happens after the disaster. So it's always, Kelly Reichardt is always interested in the constant tension in people's mind when they are in a situation, not in the something that drives through and end up in a big explosion. So that explosion is not that important. The tension that is built up all through, that is more interesting for Kelly Reichardt. That's what I think. I mean, this is a constant style in all her films. We will not see it's, again, she may have learned it from Chantal Akerman. If you have seen her masterpiece, that Jean, huge name.
Since you mentioned Agnes Varda, I found Varda, resonances of Varda's The Gleaners and I also in this film. You know, that film, Gleaners and I, is also a critique of capitalism, yes, and her concern for those on the margin, and especially the scene in which Wendy is, carrying those huge bags, which are more like sacks. They look like trash bags.
Yes.
So that kind of, reminded me of Varda's The Cleaners and I.
They both are politically in the same line.
Yes.
Kelly Reichardt and Agnes Varda, and also both of them started as still photographers. They got into movies through photography.
Okay.
Both of them.
Okay.
Gita, I have a question to ask Louis.
Yes, please, Vijay, go.
Louis, in the
yes,
beginning of your presentation, you made a statement that the present director is exactly opposite to Tarantino's films. I have seen a couple of movies of Tarantino, like Death Race, Kill Bill, and various other things. In what sense the present director is totally opposite to Tarantino? Because another one observation that I would like to make. The first impression that I got when I watched this movie today is that at a time when we always see films related to man and animal relationship. Here is a film which talks about relationship between a woman and animal. That too, she is all alone taking her own journey from one place to another place, and her company is only an animal, that is a dog. And she is, and the film tries to project the trials and travails of a woman, which is predominantly dominated by men characters.
Yes.
So that way, I mean, getting back to the first question, would you like to throw a light on that, what you meant by that?
Yes. If you have watched Tarantino, you know, Tarantino's movies are full of action. Right from the beginning to the end, action. Action means quick, fast actions, quick cuts, short, faster editing, and lot of violence. We don't see any of this in Reichardt's movies. Generally, shots are longer. They are reflective. They just stays around, linger around the scene. This never happens in Tarantino. Tarantino's stories are highly plot driven. They are full of action. We also see action in Reichardt, but those actions are generally considered banal, everyday routine things that is not driving to a big narrative like that. In Tarantino, it's very important. Only the dramatic actions are there. About this animal-human relationships, it's this is something I left out. In all the films of Reichardt, we see both domestic animals and wild animals. These wild animals mean sometimes it can be some wild birds like that. So she is trying to say how we try to, the human beings try to domesticate nature, and the effect of domestication, how it has become sometimes help us from loneliness. Sometimes how we juxtapose the wild nature and how we consider. I mean, for us, some are weed and some are garden plants. I mean, in nature there are no good plants or good trees or good animals. When we domesticate, we distinguish between good animals or useful animals and useless animals, or animals which are to be killed. Like, she is trying to tell us how we treat nature. So this animal-human relationship is something like a metaphor of how the whole story is connected to nature. We can see this in all her films. And this the dog Lucy is her own dog. We can see her in the dog in the same name in All Joy. Again, one of the important characters.
Thank you, Louis. Jayanto, please.
Yeah, I don't have too many questions or comments. It's just that I love the film. I love the film, and I'm very thankful to Louis for having introduced me to this writer and this filmmaker. We hear the word minimalist, so often in cinema, in art and all that, but there are very few instances when minimalism is actually true to what it ought to be. Here we find that it is really minimalistic. Yes. And I've always felt, that when minimalism becomes a style, and becomes a style statement, it ceases to be minimalistic, because they're very conscious attempt to show that I'm not doing much. Here, she's really not doing much, And as far as the camera is concerned, as far as, music, there is no dramatic music, which sort of pushes the theme along. And the most wonderful of performances by this actor, Michelle Williams, she's exactly what we would find. And if she is political, I mean, Kelly Reichardt, if she's political, her politics is also understated. And particularly in the American scenario, we would find that she doesn't bring race into it at all. We would, particularly it's about the West, there would be so many very obvious instances of racism. There would be so many obvious instances of intolerance. Here we find only white characters, but within this, let us say, structure of white males as well as females, we find that there are poor, there are the marginalized, and there is sympathy, there is kindness within the same social, structure. And if there is unfairness, that also is within a similar kind of a structure. That salesman in the shop, he is very much like Wendy herself, from the kind of social class that comes, and the fact is that this whole journey, it is so uninteresting in the sense that we realize that most life journeys are like that, They need not be exciting, they need not be thrilling, but you have to get from one point to another for something. It need not necessarily be seeking something, like she doesn't. And at the end, there is one of the very few notes of assertiveness when she tells her dog, I will come back, And with that, the way she sits in that empty, car in the train, I mean, as is trying to make her as small as possible, she huddles in a corner. We feel a sense of great love and pity for her. And then the only time perhaps when there is a certain symbolism that she uses, the maker uses here, those jungles that the train passes through could be a symbol for something, the lack of visibility in her own life as to where she's going and what she'll do. But yet we know that it will end in something which is not totally devastating. We have that kind of a feeling, It was a wonderful, and I share with Louis Mathew this common dislike of, talking to a computer. I hate it, but then these are the times. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Though her story is so desperate and devastating, we don't see it is completely pessimistic. At the end of the film, we see she's still on her journey in spite of all these difficult times. She was pulled out of her journey through events which are out of her control. She loses her mobility, loses the car, gets into police cases, whatever. She even loses her friend, the dog, but she's still on her journey. She has the determination to go on with her life. That is some way comforting.
Also, I think that, Jayanto mentioned that other character, the salesman. I think there is one scene where, he gets picked up in a car by his mother at the end of his job. So I think Reichardt wants to, kind of put him as a foil to Wendy, in the sense that he is definitely more privileged. He has a family, he has somebody who comes and then picks him up after his work. And Wendy shouts out, like, your son is a hero, and this guy is so self-righteous and wants to, follow the store policy by the letter rather than the spirit. But at the same time, he may not be aware that he is not really as privileged as he thinks himself to be, because I'm sure that store does not give him, maybe an insurance or pay him for overtime or anything. So in a sense, he is as marginalized as Wendy herself is, although with a little more privilege than Wendy, in the sense that he has a home, whereas Wendy is, just a homeless vagabond. So since Jento brought up this character, I thought I would just, it just struck me of how.
Though generally we see the system, the community, the society is very oppressive, we find some islands of hope in these working class small people, where she can find hope and some little bit of love. So the life is not hopeless, though the system, the society is so oppressive.
Yeah,
this is again a pattern in her films.
Yeah, the security guard is the
security, yes.
And even the mechanic, he gives her a discount, and when he knows that she cannot afford, so he for her repairs and all that, he offers a discount. So there is that goodness in these little
yes,
in the small characters. Anyone else? Any more comments, questions? Sridhar, Sarkeshwar.
I just wanted to ask Gita whether this film was shot on celluloid. It seems, I mean, at least the look of it, it seems to have been shot on celluloid. Any idea?
I don't think so. I'm not sure. Her first film was on celluloid. Then she had to go back and make short films in Super 8 for some time. Only after 12 years, she could make a second film. But by then it was completely digitalized. The post 2000 independent movies are generally digital. Even now there are celluloid films, but they must be of huge studio productions, very expensive now. So I think it is, I'm not sure, but I think it is digital.
Any more comments? Yeah, Sanjay, please go ahead.
Yeah, I found it a bit ironic. I don't know whether it is intended by the director. I don't think director intends it, but as a viewer, what I felt that when Wendy loses her dog and she goes and check it in the dog pound, and after that, so when the man contacts her, I mean, contacts the security guard on mobile, then we find that this dog is rehomed. So this dog was taken to dog's pound and then rehomed. So I mean, what kind of society it is that which can rehome a dog but cannot rehome a human being?
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is exactly what the filmmaker is trying to say.
Yes, Sarkeshwar.
Yeah, another issue was it begins with the dog and Wendy meeting a vagabond group who were partying in the open. They are also but they are more happy and they're in a celebratory mood because it's a community as such. Here, she lacks a community.
Yes.
That another contrast, I think, that comes through. And then the another image that haunts through the narrative is of these railway tracks and the train moving. So it begins with that shot from the above of the trains moving in the beginning, and it ends with the train.
Yes.
I think that is also quite interesting to frame the narrative, I thought.
And we see they are not passenger trains, they are goods trains. Very few human beings are traveling through those trains.
Yes.
In fact, the soundtrack also has the constant, the sound of the train. Like there is not much of background music that is used, but rather you have this ambient sound of passing trains, which kind of forms the background sound for the film.
I like that security guard very much. He's like a kind of witness to what unfolds to these two characters, the dog and the girl. And he's not only a witness, finally, he's the one who comes to our help. Not so much, I think, that mechanic. That mechanic says, you leave the car plus give me 30 rupees for 30 bucks for towing it. So she is losing the car as well as she has to give the money for towing.
Yes.
So in that sense, I don't think he helps the girl much.
The security guard is something like an angel in the story.
Yeah. In the end, he offers some money to her also, and he also says, make sure my wife is not seeing this transfer of money. And that's also something very interesting in the film, that although it is a critique of capitalism, there is also a lot of focus on money, like you can see the exchange of money, and you can also see Wendy very carefully maintaining those accounts and checking out, how much she requires and how much she is left with. So there is this focus on money alongside the critique of money itself.
Money is actually the biggest conflict in her life. She's bound by the restrictions of money in her travel, in everything. I mean, even if she gets into this police case because of lack of money for the dog, not even for herself. She wanted to get some food for the dog.
But don't you think that the lack of money to take care of the dog defeats her purpose of taking care of the dog at the end of the movie? And she tells the dog that she will come back so that she can take care of the dog very well, like earlier days, because the money is very important now for her because she loses. And it's kind of a defeatist, realist portrayal of this this thing is there. Don't you think so?
She's hopeful of getting a job in Alaska at the end of the journey, and that is to make money and live independently. But she found it's so difficult for her to manage the dog, and she may be thinking it's better you stay there till I find a better financial position. I think so.
I think the issue is about the bond between the two. So they have a particular kind of bond. But to sustain that bond, you need money. So in that sense, the money or the lack of it is wedging the relationship between the two.
Yes,
in that sense,
she doesn't have even the minimum money to maintain that bond. So she decided to leave the dog with somebody who can take care of her.
Also, I think she's comforted by the fact, she tells Lucy that the guy looks good and you have a big yard. So she's quite comforted by the fact that Lucy is going to be comfortable there and well cared for, so that bond kind of continues in her concern for Lucy's welfare. And of course, she's hopeful that she will come back someday and retrieve her.
I kind of think it is, the impossibility of, sustaining it. The film seems to be pointing more to to that, though she would, I mean, that is the only bond that she has, she is unable to sustain it. So it's the focus is more on its impossibility. What capitalism or the system denies her. The only bond that she shares is denied to her. It's a way of consoling herself, I suppose, when she says, I'll come back. But it's also heartbreaking because underlining that I'll come back is always the possibility that this is it. I mean, she may not even get the chance to come back. Yeah.
In fact, even when she's walking around in that dog pound and, taking a look at all the dogs there, there is the feeling that probably, there are many more Wendys, who have lost their dogs. And so in that sense, it's kind of, universalizing her problem as well. I don't know if I'm overreading, but possible. Any more comments? Okay.
Gita, just to let Louis Mathew know that all of us who join the discussion every Saturday would have watched these films. So the films for the discussion. So you can go ahead with complete confidence that you will be speaking to an audience which has watched these films. So this has been our practice throughout. So we have the whole week to watch the film so that when we meet on Saturday.
You were already watched it.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I don't want to give spoilers.
Okay. Yeah. So even next week's film, we would have watched it by tomorrow, day after. We generally share the link. And then we watch it. And so when we come for the discussion, we're all kind of fully prepared to listen to you. So
Fine.
I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Louis. We meet again next Saturday, same time. And the film is Meat Cut Off. So good night, everyone. And thank you for logging in.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.